You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. We never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can, we're Americans.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show on K98 Talk. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Feels like it's been forever, but hopefully we'll get this rhythm worked out here and get into more of a steady scheduling of regular programming. You can blame me for that, not anybody else. But anyway, the obvious topic tonight on everybody's plate still is the New Hampshire primaries. And we are going to spend a little bit of time touching on that. But, everybody's touching on that right now. So I thought, why don't we look around and gather some other news and other things that are going on right now that, maybe people like Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama would rather not try to defend as Democrats, being that this is their policies that are doing this. So I did some snooping around, of course, and I found a few things that we're going to talk about tonight in greater detail than New Hampshire. The first of which is the ever-exciting topic of our trade deficit with China. And then a little later in the program, we have a real special treat. We don't normally open the show up to anybody, and I don't have any Toms or Harrys, but tonight we do have a very special talking Dick. That's right. We got some audio from Dick Durbin, the Democrat senator, pitching new taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have a talking dick on the program tonight. We're also going to talk a little bit about border security and, maybe some money stuff. But anyway, let's get this thing kicked off. We're going to dive right in with this China thing. So our merchandise trade deficit that the United States ran with China in 2015 hit a record high. I mean, is that really news to anybody that under Obama we hit a record high trade deficit with China? That number, by the way, is $365.7 billion. That's right, just over a third of $1 trillion in 1 year. And that's according to the U.S. Census Bureau and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Now, the deficit with China increased from 14 to 15 by $22.6 billion. It's just like Obama's opened the spigot and he just doesn't care. But, exports decreased $7.5 billion and imports increased $15.1 billion. Now think about that for a minute. Just think about that. Because that sounds bad enough in and of itself. But I'm going to give you the raw numbers on those. Forget about what it increased and decreased by. In 2015, we exported $116.2 billion in merchandise to China. In turn, under Obama's trade agreements, we imported $481.9 billion in merchandise. What about that sounds fair and equal to you? What about that makes you think that middle-class manufacturing and laborers are coming out on top of that deal? That it's driving job creation in our country? The $22.6 billion increase in the merchandise trade deficit, which we ran with China last year, was a 6.6% jump from the year before. Now, the merchandise trade balance, it deals only with the goods that are imported and exported between the two countries. It does not include the export and import of services. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. In recent years, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the U.S. has run a surplus in its exchange of services with China, while running a much larger deficit in its exchange of goods. So let's examine that for a second, and let's get a look at this. In 2014, we ran a $28 billion surplus in services, according to BEA. That caused the overall U.S. goods and services trade deficit with China, which was $315.1 billion, to be less than the 2014 merchandise trade deficit of $343.07 billion. Now stay with me, because I know the numbers are big, it gets a little confusing. But the BEA is scheduled to release the 2015 balance of trade and services with China and other countries on March 4th. The Census Bureau has published a U.S.-China export and import numbers on goods going back to 1985. Why the Census Bureau does this, I have no clue. But during the past 30 years, the annual value of U.S.-China trade has risen dramatically. And so too has the gap between the value of these Chinese goods imported into the U.S. and the U.S. goods exported to China. So in 1985, according to the Census Bureau, the United States exported $3.85 billion in goods to China and imported $3.86 billion back. That's pretty fair and equitable. You know, that's a $6 million deficit. When you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, $6 million really is just a drop in the bucket. But here's the problem. By 95, we had passed through the end of the Reagan years, we had passed through the Bush years, and we are now in the Clinton years. In 1995, the U.S. was exporting $11.7 billion while importing $45.5 billion, running a deficit of $33.8 billion. By 2005, the U.S. was exporting $41.1 billion to China while importing $243.4 billion, running a trade deficit of $202.2 billion. In 2015, the Census Bureau reported just this past Friday, the U.S. exported $116.1 in goods to China while importing $481.8, running a merchandise trade deficit of $365.7 billion. Even when the historical annual merchandise trade deficits that the U.S. has run with China are adjusted for inflation and put in constant 2015 dollars using the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator, the $365.7 billion trade deficit the U.S. ran with China last year is still the largest recorded by the Census Bureau. End of story. Democrat policies fail with trade. For the past several years, the U.S. trade deficit with China has been significantly larger than with any other U.S. trading partner and several trading groups. So some analysts contend that the large U.S. trade deficit is an indicator that the trade relationship is unbalanced, unfair, and damaging the U.S. economy. Duh, do you think? Others argue that the large trade deficit with China is more of a reflection of global supply chains, where China is often the final point of assembly for export-oriented multifunctional items and firms, and multinational firms, I should say, and multifunctional items and multinational firms. There we go. A joint study by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the World Trade Organizations, both of which are highly socialistic and one world government type organizations, so you know how this is going to fall, estimated that the U.S. trade deficit in China would be reduced by 25% if bilateral trade flows were measured according to the value added that occurred in each country before it was exported. So as calculated by the Census Bureau, the U.S. ran an overall trade deficit in goods of $736.1 billion. The largest contributor to that deficit was China and its $365.7 billion, which is a bilateral deficit with the U.S. The second largest contributor was Germany, with whom the U.S. ran a $74.1 billion merchandise trade deficit. The third largest contributor was Japan, with whom the U.S. ran a $68.6 billion merchandise trade deficit. The fourth was Mexico at $58.3, and fifth was Vietnam at $30.9. Now, when you factor all those deficits up and you come to that big number of almost $750 billion annually, $736.17 billion last year. last year. Multiply that by 7. I mean, really. We're talking about $6 trillion in trade deficit under Barack Obama. And that's just with the top 5 countries that we have deficits with. I'll be digging deeper into this report. It's quite extensive. But folks, as you know, as stories like this come out, they usually roll off of a lame duck president's back because everybody just says, oh, he's on his way out. It doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. It does matter. It does matter because it's wrecking our economy. This economy that Barack Obama has a $17 trillion debt and climbing ever so rapidly. Our deficit is huge. Our debt is huge. Our wages are stagnant. Our jobs that are being created are not quality jobs. They're part-time. They're service-oriented, which is fine for some folks. Don't get me wrong. We need service-oriented jobs too, but they are not tech jobs. They are not executive-type jobs. They are not white-collar jobs. We're creating a whole new socioeconomic group that will work their fingers to the bones for wages that are too low, for benefits that are too low, but they're willing to work because they know they have to feed their families and pay the bills that keep going up. Your grocery bills going up. Gas is coming down. Why are groceries going up? It would be cheaper to transport them, right? I mean, shouldn't we see a little break at the grocery store? No, not happening. Why? Because of our trade deficit. Do we trade groceries? No. But we trade everything else that's involved with it. The refrigeration units that go into these grocery stores, the people that make the lights, the people that do this, the people that do that, the people that build the trucks in Germany, you name it. This is all linked. And it's all linked on purpose. It's not an accident that it happens this way. This is a push to one world government. This is Barack Obama fundamentally changing America, just like he said he would. Only this way isn't the obvious way that you know about. We all hear about him trying to get gun control. Quite frankly, I think that's all distraction because he knows he can't get away with that. It's things like this that he can get away with, that he has been getting away with. Things that are legal that he's pushing through. You know, Trans-Pacific Partnership and Fast Track Trade Authority are only going to make these numbers worse. I'm telling you now, it's going to get worse before it gets better. All right, so enough of the numbers. Let's move on to some immigration type stuff here. So we've got members of the Congressional Border Security Caucus visiting the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. This is a sector of the U.S.-Mexico border. They issued a press release expressing concern about border insecurity and the continued influx of unaccompanied alien children and families and policies put in place by the Obama administration that hinder customs and border protection agents and encourage illegal immigration. What I like to call crimmigration, criminal immigration. Yeah, the illegals. So Representative Blake Farenthold of Texas, he's a Republican, said, "To be here and see firsthand, to talk to agents face to face, it is clear the administration is not giving these agents the tools they need to do their job effectively and safely." And he noted that those breaking federal immigration laws are not being prosecuted by Obama's Justice Department. Well, that would be because of a presidential directive telling them not to, which is a violation of the law. Border security should be a top priority for this president, but it's not. This president is not allowing our Border Patrol agents to do their job and is putting every American at risk in doing so. He is correct. Way to go, Representative Farenthold. Farenthold, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. If you're from Texas out there, feel free to correct me. He continued by saying, "Today we had the opportunity to see firsthand the challenges our Border Patrol agents and Texas Department of Public Safety officers face as they deal with the continuing surge of illegal immigrants on our southern border." Representative Lamar Smith, a Republican from Texas, who created the caucus in 2014, said, "Their jobs have been made harder by this administration's policies and have undermined our immigration laws and continue to encourage illegal immigrants." Now, according to Customs and Border Patrol statistics, the number of unaccompanied alien children ages infant to 17 entering the U.S. is up 102% in fiscal year 2016. That is from October 1st to January 31st in 2016, October 1st, 2015 to January 31st, 2016, compared to the same period previous year. Okay, the number difference is 10,105 a full year ago versus 20,455 in that same 3-month period going from October to this past January 31st. This is ridiculous, folks. Absolutely ridiculous. It hasn't been that many weeks ago where we talked about what it costs in this country to take care of illegal immigrants. Why? Because Barack Obama gives them money. He gives them money that they are not entitled to. And in doing so, breaks the law. Well, I mean, even precursor to giving them the money, he breaks the law. But giving them the money is a violation of the law, too. So the number of family units, and family unit represents the number of individuals, either a child under 18 years old, parent, or legal guardian, apprehended with a family member by Customs and Border Patrol, increased 171% so far in fiscal year 2016 compared to that same 3-month period in 2015. This number is an even bigger gap. We're talking about 9,090 a year ago versus 24,600 so far this year. This fiscal year so far. 3 months. 171% increase. Why? Because they know they can come here and Obama gives them free money. At a hearing last Thursday of the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security, Brandon Judd, president of the National Border Patrol Council, testified that drug cartels responsible for the human trafficking of persons entering the country illegally have taken advantage of the Obama administration's immigration policies. Well, duh. Tell us something we didn't know. The cartels understood that the unaccompanied minors would force Border Patrol to deploy agents to these crossing areas in order to take the minors into custody. Judd said in his prepared remarks, "I want to stress this point because it has been completely overlooked by the press." Not by all the press, just by the big press. Some of us are actually paying attention. The unaccompanied minors could have walked right up to the port of entry and asked for asylum, Judd said, Why did the cartels drive them to the middle of the desert and then have them cross over the Rio Grande only to surrender to Border Patrol agents they came across? The reason is that it completely tied up the manpower and allowed the cartels to smuggle whatever or whoever they wanted across the border. The creating of holes in Border Patrol operations was only one benefit to the cartels by the unaccompanied minor surge. The other was the exploration of our catch and release policy. As this surge becomes too much to handle, the Border Patrol and Enforcement and Removal Office began releasing nearly everybody that was arrested. With catch and release, the cartels could credibly say to potential customers that they would be able to remain in the United States without fear of deportation as long as they asked for asylum upon being apprehended. Representative Diane Black, Republican from Tennessee, said Obama's immigration policies aren't just affecting border states like Texas. We've known all along that our border was not secure and that the Obama administration's immigration policies were failing to uphold the rule of law, said Black. Now I have seen the impact of that with my own eyes. Tennessee may not be a border state, but President Obama's unwillingness to combat the crisis of illegal immigration is felt throughout the country, including states like my own, she said. Well, you know what, folks? She's absolutely right. For those that weren't here a couple of weeks ago when I went over how much was being spent on illegal immigrants, there were a couple of states that I addressed specifically, and with good reason. They were the state of New York and the state of California. And the reason I went with them is because of the interesting fact that they are both facing big state budget deficits. However, they are spending more money taking care of illegals with welfare, with food stamps, with housing, with medical care, with you name it, that the money they're spending to take care of illegals would more than cover their state's deficits. So think about that. These states have the choice to take care of the citizens of their state that actually pay their taxes in to that state budget, or they can choose to take care of illegals who many times work for cash under the table and do not pay taxes on their monies, and take that money and send it back home to their home country, be it Mexico, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, wherever. This is what politics in the United States has come to. Our elected officials don't want to take care of citizens. They want to take care of illegals. Now, we can back up. We don't have time. We don't have time tonight. We're going to cover more on this another night. We're at the bottom of the hour. We need to take a commercial break. So we're going to break, and when we come back, we're going to go into some Super Bowl ad tweeting. If you weren't around for NARAL's tweeting during the Super Bowl, you're in for a real treat. And we're also going to come back and we'll touch on New Hampshire some in the next half hour. And, of course, as promised, the Talking Dick, Senator Dick Durbin, on new taxes. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me. Ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
Wake up, America.
The biggest threat in those days were from factions seizing control of the governing apparatus and making decisions that were in their interests. Today, we call factions political parties. George Washington himself warned the nation about the dangers of factions in his farewell address.
Office Hours with Dr. A, 3 p.m. on Sundays, K98 Talk. We've got something to say to you, America.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me. Ain't that America?
All right, welcome back. And as you just heard the last commercial there as we were coming back in from the break, you really need to take the time to tune into Office Hours with our friend Dr. A there. He's a brilliant man, and I promise you it's going to be something interesting, and he's going to teach you a thing or two that you think you might know about but really don't. So anyway, be sure to catch him on Sunday on K98 Talk, as well as the weekly prime time K98 lineup. It's better than anything on TV. You just can't go wrong. Trust me. Every night, make this your home. So anyway, during the Super Bowl, NARAL, which is a huge pro-choice America movement, office, whatever you want to call it, house of self-loathing, I don't know. Anyway, they chose to live tweet their responses to commercials during the Super Bowl. But they seem to have touched a raw nerve with a lot of folks after complaining that an ad featuring a baby during an ultrasound amounted to, quote unquote, humanizing fetuses. Oh, the humanity of it all, right? How dare anybody try to humanize a fetus? The ad portrays a lively unborn baby on an ultrasound screen, reacting with enthusiasm to the Dorito-munching expectant dad's packet of snacks. Every time the husband moves a chip towards the wife's belly, the baby on the screen makes a lunge for it. When the annoyed mom throws a chip across the room, the baby, to everybody's consternation, decides to make an early arrival chasing the chip. Gnarl's response, hashtag not buying it. That Doritos ad using anti-choice tactic of humanizing fetuses and sexist tropes of dads as clueless and moms as uptight. The tweet drew a strong response as a lot of people mocked NARAL for lacking both a sense of humor and a knowledge of basic anatomy. Some of the ones that were chosen to be published here, idiots at NARAL are clueless about both humor and life. Another one that was published, humanizing fetuses. Did you all flunk biology? Here's the next one. Humanizing fetuses? What is mom pregnant with? A potato? A duck? Nope, a human. Here's another one. At Doritos acknowledges the humanity of an unborn life in an ad, and an anti-life pro-abortion radicals come unhinged. And that was pretty good. Haha, the level of eye-twitch knee-jerk venom in this narrow post is delicious, just like Doritos. People were all over this. Mr. Producer, you had a good one. Share it with us real quick. You really climbed on them good. You're not there. Okay, don't worry about it. Let's carry on here. Humanizing fetuses? Yeah, because if you don't want them, they're rhinoceroses, right? Okay, so let's see. When it comes to giving birth, dads are clueless and moms are uptight. Clearly, you've never had a baby. Let's see, here's another one. This is why no one likes you. Here's another one. You must be fun at parties. This is why we can't have anything nice. Okay, so enough of that one. According to the tech company Spreadfest, the Doritos ad generated about 275,000 mentions on Twitter during the Super Bowl, putting it in third place of all ads during the game behind Pepsi and Esurance. The ultrasound ad was not the only one that got the thumbs down from gnarl pro-choice America. Among others, the abortion rights group also didn't like. They took a Hyundai ad to task for highlighting auto-tracking technology with a first date theme. Taking away your daughter's autonomy and stalking her on a date isn't funny. They scolded a Buick ad for depicting, quote-unquote, women fighting over a wedding bouquet. They judged a Snickers ad featuring Willem Dafoe as transphobic. They complained about an Audi ad featuring a retired male astronaut. You couldn't find a single female astronaut to feature in your ad. Among the commercials that they did like, however, was a Bud Light ad featuring Amy Schumer and Seth Rogen promoting their Bud Light party with a stump speech that begins, "They say we're a divided nation. They say we disagree on everything," but then goes on to list things Americans agree on, including beer. Gnarl told Twitter it loved the ad before adding, "Americans do agree on many things, especially the need for reproductive freedom." See, reproductive freedom to Gnarl is code word for murdering babies on demand on the government's dime, which is your dime and my dime. Gnarl, there is a special place in hell reserved for you, and I know this because of our next story, which is how young and middle-aged women in New Hampshire ignored former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright's weekend warning that there was a special place in hell for women who didn't help each other, and that sector of women turned out overwhelmingly for Senator Bernie Sanders on Tuesday night. So these women basically told Madeleine Albright, you can take your special place in hell and put Gnarl in it. I like it. I think it works. So anyway, according to the exit polls, 7 out of 10 women under the age of 45 voted for Sanders over Clinton. Sanders also won among all women, regardless of age. And in exit poll data posted by the New York Times showed that women were 55% of all voters in New Hampshire, and that those women favored Sanders 55% to 44%. So Sanders got 55% of 55% of the voters. It's pretty darn good. I mean, look, I'm not a Bernie fan. Trust me, I'm not, because he's going to wreck this economy if he ever becomes president. God help us all. But, you know, I just, for the life of me, I can't imagine either one of those two. I mean, really, can you? Hillary or Bernie Sanders? And that's like having to pick between Beelzebub and Lucifer. Except, you know, the latter actually probably have more personality. So anyway, we touch on that. What else do we have here? We have something else here. So Bernie, he really did clean up in New Hampshire. He just pounded Hillary soundly. He carried majorities of both men and women. He won among those with and without college degrees. He won among gun owners and non-gun owners. He beat Mrs. Clinton among previous primary voters and those participating for the first time. And he ran ahead among both moderates and liberals. Even so, there were some silver linings for Mrs. Clinton. While Sanders bested her among all age groups younger than 45, the two candidates polled evenly among voters aged 45 to 64. And Mrs. Clinton did take the support of voters 65 and older. And though she lost nearly every income group, she did carry voters and families earning over $200,000 a year. Go figure, the Empress of Chappaqua carried the rich folk. So, anyway, on the other side of the coin in New Hampshire, apparently stories of Jeb Bush's campaign's life support machine being unplugged were maybe just a little bit early. At least that was Bush's message when he took the stage at his New Hampshire primary party. He spoke for less than 10 minutes, telling his supporters that his campaign was not dead, that they have done well enough to go on to South Carolina. You have given me the chance now to go to South Carolina, where we are going to do really well thanks to all of you. So he's counting on South Carolina's success thanks to pulling 11% in New Hampshire. Jeb. Oh, Jeb. Can I call you Jeb? I mean, I know it's an acronym. For those of you that didn't know, Jeb's name isn't Jeb. Jeb is an acronym. It's a nickname. Governor Bush's real name is John Ellison Bush. They call him Jeb. So he has Bush in his name. He's John Ellison Bush, I guess. I don't know. The guy is ridiculous. He hasn't learned a thing. When he did speak to the press after the primaries, the first thing he did was the thing that has sunk him more than anything, which is attack Donnie Trump. Now, Trump is not my candidate. I don't care if he's your candidate or not. I don't hate Donald Trump. I don't hate people that support Donald Trump. I hate ignorance. So as long as you can promote Donald Trump in a cogent, intelligent, rational fashion, I'm willing to have a discussion with anybody about him as a candidate. And quite frankly, it's the others that are attacking people. There's a Twitter group out there that is working to get anti-Trump people suspended. That's how pathetic they've gotten. And I don't care if you know who I am. You can rot in hell with that kind of attitude. I mean, really. So, there's a little bit of truth to what Bush said. He did take 11%, which is, when the final tally was all done, he fell behind Cruz by a little bit, but it was really close, and it was better than I really thought Bush would do. Kasich was the big surprise of the night, but not overly surprising considering how much money and time he spent in New Hampshire while ignoring Iowa. So, in a moment that seemed to epitomize Jeb's struggle during this entire cycle, just moments after he began speaking, Trump took stage and the television broadcast followed. And of course, Jeb quietly, in his head, lost his ever-loving mind all over again. But they move on to South Carolina, where Senator Lindsey Graham, the man who wears the most comfortable loafers in the state, has endorsed Mr. Bush and told reporters that Mr. Bush had grown as a candidate and would perform even better in South Carolina, which holds its primary on February 20th. I think John Ellison Bush had his back to the wall and rose to the occasion, said Graham. Now we're up on our feet and we're going to run in South Carolina. You know what this is starting to sound like, folks? And maybe I'm a little premature with this, but is Lindsey Graham bucking to be the number 2 on the Bush ticket? Could you even fathom the stupidity of a Bush-Graham ticket? Now, Bush's older brother, George W., is expected to campaign with him in South Carolina. And Mr. Graham said the dynastic family name with which Mr. Bush has struggled will help him in the state. See, referring to the Bushes as a dynasty is what turns people off, you jackass. People don't want a dynasty in D.C. Okay? You're giving all the angst of the Trump supporters exactly what they want. The will to fight harder. You're an idiot, Lindsey Graham, and you're supporting an idiot. The Bush people are golden in my state, Graham added. The Bush people are respected in my state, starting with their dad. They have been public servants. They have been good, honorable people, he continued on. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, that's basically the recap on New Hampshire. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because, quite frankly, we want to get to the big story of the night, the talking dick. That's right. Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, says gas prices have gone down and the government is, quote, missing an opportunity to increase the gas tax. At a press conference in Chicago on Friday, Durbin said, 2 weeks ago, I paid $1.51 a gallon for gasoline in downstate Illinois. Clearly, the price of gasoline has gone down dramatically and has the price of a barrel of oil, which I think is below $30.
Why did you have me download the clip if you're just going to read it anyway?
Hey, okay. So I didn't realize it was the same clip, but yeah, let's cue the audio. Let's listen. Hey, folks, it's time for the talking dick. Hit it, Mr. Producer.
I want to ask you about an idea that the president talked about yesterday about a tax on oil. Do you think that's appropriate now with gas prices being so low?
Well, I didn't hear his suggestion. Is this a gas tax you're talking about?
He said a tax on oil.
Well, here's what I think. 2 weeks ago, I paid $1.51 a gallon for gasoline in downstate Illinois. And clearly the price of gasoline has gone down dramatically, as has the price of a barrel of oil, which I think is below $30. I think we're missing an opportunity. A 5-cent increase in the federal gas tax can really fund an infrastructure program that can help create new jobs in this economy and help businesses. Now's the time to do it. Now that we're burning fewer gallons of gas because of more fuel-efficient cars and trucks, now that the price is this low, now's the time to do it. If that's what the president is proposing for that purpose, I'd be more than happy to sit down and talk.
Okay. So there's the talking dick. Now, Durbin has been supportive of an increase in the gas tax for quite some time now. Last year, the Illinois Democrat co-sponsored the Traffic Relief Act, a measure that would increase gas tax by 4 cents per year for the next 4 years, culminating in 16-cent per gallon increase by 2020, which when added to the current 18.4-cent federal tax on gasoline would end result be a 34.4-cent gallon tax by 2020. Folks, these people call the oil companies greedy for making 2 to 4 cents a gallon. Yet they already take 9 times that amount and want to increase it almost 100% again. Do you see what I mean now when I say a talking dick? Yeah, I thought you would. Okay. So anyway, here's a question for you. What happened when Maine required childless adults to work in order to get food stamps? Well, let's talk about it for a minute. $1 trillion. That's how much the government spent last year on means-tested welfare aid, providing cash, food, housing, medical care, and social services to poor and low-income individuals. The food stamp program is the nation's second largest welfare program. The number of food stamp recipients has risen dramatically from 17.2 million in 2000 to 45.8 million people in 2015. Costs have soared over the same period from $20.7 billion in 2000 to $83.1 billion in 2014. Why did they cut it off at 14? I do not know. The most rapid growth in the food stamp caseload in recent years has been among able-bodied adults without dependents. They are work-capable adult recipients between the ages of 18 and 49 who do not have children or other dependents to support. I wonder why they are the biggest increase. Let's go on. Since 2008, the food stamp caseload of adults without dependents who are able-bodied has more than doubled nationally, swelling from nearly 2 million recipients in 2008 to about 5 million today. They gained notoriety when Fox News aired a documentary on food stamps featuring 29-year-old Jason Greenslate, a Californian who reported that he spends his time surfing and playing in his rock band, all the while receiving benefits from the food stamp program. In response to the growth in food stamp dependents, Maine's Governor Paul LePage, yes, the very same LePage that is very outspoken and doesn't mind having his face plastered all over the media, recently established work requirements on recipients who are without dependents and able-bodied. In Maine, all able-bodied adults without dependents in the food stamp program are now required to take a job, participate in training, and or perform community service. Job openings for lower skill workers are abundant in Maine, and for those recipients who cannot find immediate employment, Maine offers both training and community service slots. But despite vigorous outreach efforts by the government to encourage participation, most childless adult recipients in Maine refuse to participate in training or even to perform community service for 6 hours a week. $20 hours a week. But hey, you want to receive something, you should give something for it. 6 hours isn't giving anything. When the recipients refused to participate, their food stamp benefits ceased. In March of 2015. This rapid drop in welfare dependence has a historical precedent. When work requirements were established in the Aid to Families with Dependent Children program in the 90s, nationwide caseloads dropped by almost as much, albeit over a few years rather than a few months. The main food stamp program requirement is sound public policy. Government should aid those in need, but welfare should not be a one-way handout. Amen to that. Nearly 9 out of 10 Americans believe that able-bodied, non-elderly adults who receive cash, food, or housing assistance from the government should be required to work or prepare for work as a condition of receiving aid. LePage's reform puts the public's convictions into action. Listen up, there are 49 other states out there, people. We need to be ringing this home in every single one of them. The main reforms recognize that giving welfare to those who refuse to take steps to help themselves is unfair to taxpayers and fosters a harmful dependence among beneficiaries. Off-the-book employment. The main work requirement also reduces fraud. The most common type of fraud in welfare involves off-the-books employment. In food stamps, as in other welfare programs, benefits go down as earnings rise. But off-the-book employment is rarely reported to the welfare office. Hiding earnings enables a recipient to double dip, getting full welfare benefits he is ineligible to receive while simultaneously receiving earnings from an unreported job. The federal government should establish work requirements similar to Maine's for the 4.7 million able-bodied adults without dependents currently receiving food stamps nationwide. If they did this, the taxpayer savings would be over $8.4 billion per year, and further reforms could bring the savings to $10 billion per year, around $100 per year per every individual currently paying federal income tax. Hey, I'll take $100. You know, it's time we got this program lit up everywhere. Now, folks, as always, you don't have to take my word for it. Do your own homework. Do your own research. I do it every week as I put this stuff together to bring to you. But you shouldn't take my word for it just because I do homework. You need to do your own homework too. And when you do, you'll see that, that grouchy guy, he's right. He's dead on. But anyway, that takes us to the top of the hour. Mr. Producer, are you with me?
No, I ran away.
Who's up next? I don't even know who's after me anymore.
There technically isn't anyone after you. There's nobody on after you or the spot after that one. I'll be up again at 10 Central, 11 Eastern.
10 Central, 11 Eastern for America Off the Rails. Let's make it quite clear that that is not following me. That is much later in the night because, as you all know, I just simply can't be followed. It's just how it is. It's hard to be humble when you're a damn grouch.
So it's like that now, is it? Go back to your landfill.
Anyway, that's the top of the hour, folks. I'm so glad you tuned in. I'm looking forward to having you back next week. Tell your friends. If your friends like the show, you need new friends, but you'll all be welcome here with the Conservative Curmudgeon Show, joining the G Nation right here on K98 Talk. God bless you. See you next week.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby, ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.